4 in a row. These OGs cannot be stopped. Plus, TJ puts everyone's true feelings on blast. Sam and Frank take complete control of the game. Corey and Adam have a little beef. Devin and Dario have a big beef. Some nasty stuff gets drank, and a star is now officially being held hostage. It's the Challenge All-Stars Rivals Episode 5 recap coming up right now. What up, my fellow Challenge lovers? Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future. If it's happening in the Challenge universe, we are here to document it. I'm your host and dedicated Challenge historian, Jacob Hollabaugh. Thank you so very, very much for being here with me on this big Wednesday night, Episode 5 of The Challenge All-Stars. But as the Challenge accounts themselves would also remind you throughout the day, which I get supporting your fellow shows that technically are under the same big umbrella over at Paramount. But the fact that the All-Star accounts, or not the All-Star accounts, the Challenge accounts, all of them were sending out things on Instagram and everywhere else to make sure you knew Survivor premiere tonight too. Like, what are we doing, guys? That's your competition right now. Tonight, we have this amazing season going that you've put not on Paramount Plus, but instead on MTV, which is fine. But now you're promoting the show that you're going to go head to head with, and that I have for years been asking you to get off of the same time frame, to get off of the same night in time as Survivor, so that the audience, a lot of which would like to watch both, could watch both live and enjoy them. But it is Survivor premiere night. That is not what we are here to talk about. I will be watching that after I finish recording and posting this. We are here to talk about this amazing episode of this amazing season of The Challenge All-Stars 5 Rivals. That's all we've got. There's no other programming notes. There won't be any Survivor coverage for this season of Survivor. Unfortunately, maybe a check-in at some point. Maybe I'll, send the bat signal up to Tony, and maybe we'll do a check-in if the season's really good at some point. But for this foreseeable future, All-Stars 5 coverage will continue, and that will be about it for now. Same agenda as always. So without further ado, there is a lot to cover with this episode. Let's dive right in. Episode 5. All-Stars 5. Here we go. Starting with the opening house segment, not the longest house segment, but a couple things worth noting. The first one, we start the episode with a montage that you had seen. They posted it on Instagram and elsewhere throughout earlier in the day. And usually, I've said before many times, I don't like that they do as much of that. I don't think that actually helps or promotes the show. I honestly think that might take some, it might hurt if anything, or it's just kind of a, neutral, but I usually don't end up watching them, but there was some conversation around this one today out on across X, a few people making a very noteworthy comment that I will now make here, which is we get this montage of everyone calling home. And it's great. And it should be said as a tangent. Like, it's kind of crazy how big the Challenge universe is at this point, when we can basically do almost everyone in this cast have a significant other or someone that they're close to that is a challenger themselves to call home. It's like, Amber's calling Chauncey. He's been on the show. Leroy's calling Cam, obviously on the show. Avery's over there with Adam's kids. They met on All-Stars 4, on and on and on and on. But the one that leads it off, and that gets maybe the most time of all of it, is Nany and Casey, who, if you're not aware, did break up, called off their engagement a few weeks ago at this point. I believe they at least, made that publicly known. And it's, 30 seconds of the show. It would have been pretty easy to edit that out, just kind of out of kindness to Nany, who has been a stalwart of the Challenge, an amazing cast member for, I don't know, not if Leroy at the end says he's done 15 seasons, Nany's done around the same amount, whatever. Like, it would be nice of you maybe to just, cut that out. What happens if you don't even have to add something else in, just like, oh, this show's 30 seconds shorter. Cause like, we want to do a solid to Nany. We heard they broke up, and we don't want to, if she's watching this back or people commenting and anything else, it would have just been easy to cut it. So I feel like that could have been done, but ultimately not that big a part of this episode. Leroy and Dario then take center stage after this big montage is over. We get more of their friendship explained. We had slowly learned, and I had a few people, shout out to different people in the comments and DMs, that had pointed out that Leroy and Dario were super good friends, and I wasn't totally aware of that coming into the season, or at least wasn't remembering it if I ever was aware. And we get the explanation here that's like, they're not just friends, like maybe they still, the best friend gets thrown around in Challenge House so much, and this one at least has some legitimacy to it when they use that reference here, as some in the past have had, like, Wes and Devin are best friends. I don't know if you still remember that. He doesn't mention him at any point during this season. There's been a lot of kind of fake best friends in the past, but Leroy and Dario, having lived together, exploring Vegas together, having been on other seasons before, the whole thing, very real friendship, and nice moment to see for the two of them and have that explained, but also the moment where, all of us that have been watching the challenge and know the beats of the episodes are like, okay, so you're telling us that now for which reason? Which one of them is going to do something to the other, or which one is going to save the other? One of the two. But these are now our featured characters and teams, more than likely, of this episode. And so we knew that was coming. And then last but not least, we get a quick moment of Frank and Sam, who are attempting to do a little cardio bike workout together. Sam arrives a little later than Frank. Who knows? Maybe Sam arrived right on time and Frank showed up early. That could be the case too. Sam then can't, it's a hilarious moment. She's struggling with getting the settings where she wants. And I only bring it up to say, I think Frank has come a long way already, 5 episodes in, and just the growth in his acting abilities to be able to keep, you can still see it a little on his face, but he's come a long way with the faces he's making and how he's hiding the frustration and putting forward a calm, still a smile, still it's all good, we can have fun, I can make a joke. I'm still kind of starting to boil inside, but the acting skills have come a long way. So shout out to Frank for that, positive evolution for him and for his team. Then to the daily challenge, which we knew from last week involved a little bit of eating or drinking. It turns out just drinking, and involved not trivia. The word trivia got used somewhere. I thought, or maybe it was just like Mark Long or someone, I think, a tweet or something that said trivia, but they never in the episode say trivia. So hopefully we have actual trivia sometime later. That would be great. But this game that they do play is a staple of rival seasons. We've seen it in a few non-rival seasons. It is perfect. It's the best. They should do this game every season, because every season should be a pair season. In my book, those are the best seasons. Maybe not every single one. Teams would be great. Individual can still be fun. I digress. This game should be used in some form or fashion if there's a way to use it for any given season, because it's so perfect. It's so great. It stirs up some drama. It's fun. And the way they designed this one to do just, the 4 question penalties for getting them all wrong. And then it's a drinking contest. And, more than likely you're going to end up drinking something gross, some level of gross here. It works perfectly. Obviously for rivals, there's a reason they've always done it on rivals. Do you know your partner well when you don't like your partner? They've done it on exes as well. It's fantastic. Any pair season, they should do it. Any season outside of pairs, they should maybe find a different way to do a similar thing, because it adds so much value. And what do you know? It adds a lot of value in this episode into the kind of dynamics at play with the cast. And yes, anyone watching that just, watched the months long Challenge 40 Battle of the Eras will have recognized the location. They were in the nomination chamber of the house from Challenge 40 Battle of the Eras, which is 5 minutes down the street. So this cast on All Stars 5 is getting the absolute best case scenario. They have to go into their backyard for eliminations, literally just walk outside to the backyard for eliminations, no bus rides for any elims all season long. They've had a couple other daily challenges that we know to have been quite close to the house, and now this one we know is like 5 minutes down the road. they're killing it as far as how much time they're having to spend on a bus to and from. And it's fantastic and paying off in a big, big way. In the game itself, Veronica is, takes center stage momentarily here. We see in the next week on, she's about to take complete center stage next week, it looks like. But in this one, she, the ultimate veteran, the savvy strategist that she is, knows all too well. And I honestly don't even know that she's been on too many of the seasons where they would have played this game. She's just the one that is smart enough to know, same with her partner for the most part, and Katie knows the strategy is don't answer the questions. Just don't, especially when the loser isn't going straight into elimination, and especially when you and your partner both get the strategy right, you can still win this whole game. Like, there's no reason not to be avoiding answering these questions when 3 of the 4 are set up to, hey, do you want to kind of make some enemies? Do you want to cause some drama? Do you want to have another team be mad that you said their name for this negative purpose? And Veronica goes 3 for 3 and just like, we're not saying anyone's name. Unfortunately, Katie doesn't also go 3. I think the 2 out of the 3 she knows, and the first one, and they explain the whole strategy. It's great. A bunch of other people know, we get a handful of other people on each question thinking we should just say no one. It seems like others catch on to, hey, Veronica and Katie did it and it was allowed. So like we should start doing that for these questions. And again, you could still win. If Katie would have been right in lockstep for all of them, there's a version of this where Veronica and Katie just drink a vanilla milkshake and could still win this thing while using the best strategy, not saying any names. So great stuff from them. Veteran savvy across the board. I appreciate that once we got to the drinking part and they did bust out the one, I mean, it would be disgusting to it wouldn't taste good to drink vanilla milkshake that has ketchup in it. Okay. That wouldn't taste good, but it would be fine. That's not really, that doesn't reach levels of disgust on the disgusting scale for the challenge. Like that's barely scratching whatever the first number up on the scale is. But the Durin in the flashbacks to, they've used this before, and it is one of the most gag-inducing things they've ever put in a drink, is definitely a big penalty, and most of them incur there at the end. And so I appreciated that the editors, we didn't have to see a ton of throwing up. It was kind of like this chaotic moment. A bunch of people finished. A bunch of people immediately finished and went to stand up and throw up. But it wasn't like this crazy throw up montage that sometimes we get. And I don't think there's many of us that are looking forward to it or that entertained by it at this point, having seen as many as we've ever seen. So I thought they really nailed the exact right amount of, yes, a bunch of people had to throw up. Yes, this was disgusting, but we just need to reference that this was in fact disgusting and we can move on. So shout out to them for that. And the chaos that ensued, who knows how this was, what the actual directions were of because they have to weigh them. How much is actually left? No one truly finished to the last drop because they're all trying to be the first one to say check and put their hands up. So who knows what the exact rules were of the moment you say check, you're done. If the tape showed that you kept sipping after raising your hand or saying check, whatever. Frank and Sam were done, right near the first done with a couple other teams. They get the win. Great work by them. Back at the house and the club, let's talk about the big moment from the episode and everything that led to it. Dario's mistake, because he did make a mistake, and the ensuing argument that went down between he and Devin. So they're at the club and they're playing some pool. A couple of them are playing some pool. And Dario, who is not pitching the idea, is not campaigning in any single shred of a way for hey, we should try to get Frank and Sam to put in Devin and Leroy. There's zero of that from Dario. So at first glance, you're eventually a fight breaks out because Dario was saying Lee's name or something. You're well, he never wasn't. He didn't. But a mistake was made. He is just simply talking about what everyone has been talking about because Adam and Steve outwardly said they wanted Devin and Leroy last time around, if not for the last couple of rounds potentially. We just didn't see all of it, but we saw that they did last time and that the whole house knew, and a lot of people wanted it to happen, and Amber and Fessy just didn't go with it. And so that is still the conversation of Adam and Steve are up to be voted on again. Everyone assumes we're all just going to keep voting them in, and they probably haven't changed their stance of who they would like to go against. And all of us should want that to happen because that's maybe the two or the three best teams in the house and 2 star holders. And we would like a good team to go home, and we would like a star to be available. So everyone wins and everyone's talking about it. But Dario can't be talking about it. You can't be the one who opens the conversation, who starts that conversation amongst, yes, only 3 people, but 2 other people who are both on their teams of 2, whose partners have different connections in the house. Like one person talking about this, it spreads, and it's going to get back to who was the person, if everyone's talking about this, well, who was the first to talk about it? It was Dario. And again, worse, that's from what we're seeing in the editing, but that is still a mistake. You can't be the one talking about it. Everyone is, but you can't be the one leading it, even if it's not like your idea, you pushing for it, anything you actually would want if it was your vote or up to you. It's still a mistake to be the one talking about it. You are Leroy's best friend. You just can't be the one out loud at the bar being like, is everyone still thinking this is what they're all going to do? You then become the face of it. And somewhere, Frank was laughing his ass off that he didn't even have to manipulate this one. He didn't have to go about coming up with some strategy or idea in his head of how am I going to, as the one who literally has to say the name this time around, how am I still going to find a way to deflect and put someone else's face on this decision when I'm the one that literally has to go say the name in the jungle? And he had to just be sitting back laughing of like, wow, now Dario's the face of that decision. And even though it would have been mine, I'm the one that would want to make it, and literally the one that had to make it in the end. So unreal for Frank to just sit back and laugh and be like, okay, my work is done. Didn't even have to do it. Corey, of course, is the one that then goes and tells Devin. He explained, and he and a bunch of the cast members, especially him though, have been kind of live tweeting these episodes and giving some good context to some things. And in this particular case, he and Devin are much more friendly. It was either he and Devin or he and Leroy, or both, are very friendly off of the show or have hung out off of the show a few times. And he kind of explained, here's who I was connected to coming in and who Big T was connected to. And it's pretty much everyone in the house, save for a couple of teams, one of which you can guess. We will get to that in a moment. But he tells Devin that's why he felt like I got to fill them in. I don't think it's going to change anything. So it's, it's only adding something for him. If they do come back, I was looking out for them. That's good. And a confrontation ensues. And Leroy, once Devin tells Leroy, Leroy pulls Dario. And this is where Dario compounds. The first mistake is very innocent. It's like, oh, really? Like, come on. Like, everyone was talking about it. So I was talking about it, like, I wasn't pitching it, whatever. Like, pretty innocent mistake. The first one at the bar of being the one to talk about it. Put yourself in this position. This, though, the compounding mistake that is layered on top is a real actual mistake and blunder from Dario. This isn't that difficult, okay? All Dario had to say when Leroy, either to Leroy directly the first time or certainly the second time once Devin is involved as well, and they kind of asked point blank, like, do you want this or whatever they asked. And all Dario has to say is, Lee, I did not come up with this idea. I did not come up with this plan. Everyone has been talking about this for multiple weeks because Adam and Steve have been saying your name, that they want to go against you last time, the time before, this time. And yeah, so a bunch of us at the bar were talking about, is that what Frank and Sam are going to do? And, that's all this was. I don't agree. I don't want it to happen. I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for star holders. I don't want this. But yes, that is what everyone was talking about at the bar, including me just asking if that's what's going to happen. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Just say, I don't want it to happen. It's not my idea. Everyone, what do you mean? Yeah, everyone was talking about it. Everyone was asking each other, is this what is going to happen? Is this what Steve and Adam still want? It's not that hard to deflect this in an honest and still without even like lying or anything to your friend, really. What you can't say is what he says. He literally said his first response being, well, if you guys knock out Steve and Adam, then it's better for everyone's chances. That is not the thing to say. That is second worst possible thing you could say. The only thing worse is, actually, I want this to happen. It's not my plan, but I wish it was because I want you to go home. I wanted to stab you in the back. If he just said that, I guess that would be worse. But otherwise, saying your only response being, well, if you guys knock them out, it's better for everyone, is not a good response, and then deserves Devin, taking it where he does, which is, there's nothing you could say after that to defend this. Devin probably knows, being kind of the instigator and the showman that he is, knows this is all pretty innocent, but you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile as far as making it into a good moment for the TV and a moment where he can yell and argue and do all the things. And that's exactly what he does. And the back and forth between Devin and Dario ensues. We knew some form of this was coming. I had predicted from the trailer, the way they show the first moment of it in the trailer kind of looked like they were about to go into like a deliberation or something. I'm glad it wasn't that. It is this instead, which was much more entertaining. The back and forth is hilarious. I think it's actually absolutely hilarious. All the commentary going back and forth. Dario says a lot more. Definitely gets in some better burns, probably. I know everyone is going to get on Devin and be like, it's so lame that he kept saying, I am a champion. Like, don't talk to a champion like that. I get it. I understand why everyone's stance. I'm predicting everyone's stance is Devin's really lame for saying that. But first and foremost, you do have to give him to that. And the other person was trying to tell him he was not good in any way at this game. And that person, I don't know if Dario has made a final before, but Devin has one. So that's something to be said back. But two, more importantly, as much as you could think that's corny or that's lame or like, if you don't like Devin, you're going to use that moment as like, gosh, this guy just is the worst or something. He knows everyone is going to dog him for saying over and over he's a champion. He is well aware of it. It is a good portion of the reason why he is probably doing it over and over, to be antagonistic to the people watching, to be disliked a little bit by the people watching. He knows it works for his kind of challenge character, if you will. And so I'm guessing he is just having a great time. He's lapping it up, and I'm having a good time watching it. I was entertained by it. Yes, it's not the best look, but I'm not going to get on him that much. Dario's long-winded, the ending note of it will come up for quote of the week later, so we will be hitting that. But a great fight in general, some good stuff, some good drama. Glad we got it. As for the vote and ultimately the pick of Devin and Leroy, we'll combine them both here. There is now officially we've gotten kind of rumblings of it. And in this episode, Nicole outright calls it the We Suck Alliance, which is, great. I'm sure, everyone else, Frank, we ended last episode. I think it was last episode with Frank being the ones like, we got to get the other bad teams like in line here and everything. So We Suck Alliance is, it's not the greatest name if you're in it, but awareness is good in a challenge house. And it is, they're all taking the approach of what's the best case scenario for who I would run a final against. And we're all on board that this is what it's got to be. So it makes sense. And whether it's Frank and Sam or Veronica and Katie and Nicole and Melissa, all kind of realizing like our shot here is only if we can get there's kind of a hierarchy, a pretty clear one, and we need to get the teams at the top of it out. And we need to use our friends that we're all friends with, Adam and Steve. We need them to do it for us. And so the alliance is taking shape, and they move forward with, we're going to continue to vote in Steve and Adam. It's a little closer this time around. There is some tension. There is a moment where it seems like maybe it could go another way. Corey and Adam, back to Corey live tweeting throughout this and giving some more context, said that there was multiple kind of instances or little moments between he and Adam that we haven't seen, that this was kind of the culmination of like this guy's going to say my name and like this guy's going to talk back, and why they were, there was a little more to why they were so quick to try to just talk over each other and not let the other one talk, because they at this point had decided they legitimately don't like each other. And that's great. Does it, the version we're getting, does it make it seem a bit childish from both sides? Yes. And is that great and entertaining for the show? Absolutely. So still really enjoyed that, but there was some friction there, obviously. And it led me to wondering, could Devin and Leroy not have gone to Adam and Steve and been like, hey, I know you guys have been asking for us. I know that is probably still your ideal outcome right now. So you would like us. But what if you guys didn't have to go into elimination? What if we got on the same page instead of you guys accepting your fate and going in and asking to go against us? What if we voted together? What if we rallied numbers against either Dario and Ashley, or even like if you really want like Big T and Corey, if you don't like him or whatever, Adam? I feel like there was a version if the others got on the same page here to get all of the non-Adam Steve votes on the same team and possibly flip an extra team or two and maybe make this a little more interesting than it was. But I just don't think, I think Adam and Steve had kind of decided very firmly we're not working with them. And there's a lot more maybe going on to the alliances behind the scenes that we're just, don't have the screen time for, and I'm good with that. And then, so Steve and Adam are in, and then Sam and Frank ultimately pick Devin and Leroy. And it's great for everyone's games in the house. It's great for Sam and Frank's. It's great for everyone else's. It's why it's, especially with Adam and Steve being the ones that want it, and you're not even like upsetting them that they have to go against a good team or anything. This is just perfection for Sam and Frank, of like, Amber and Fessy didn't do it last week when it was asked for. Everyone in the house wanted it, and they didn't do it. And so now we get to be the ones that do, and we get to solidify that this house is one big group against the top now two teams that are left after one of them goes home here. And one of those two teams that are left, Steve and Adam, is at least friends with us, and we're just using them to eliminate everyone. But now Amber and Fessy find themselves, I feel like, completely on the out. Sam and Frank in complete control over the house and where the votes would go. And, is this might turn into, we got to take turns each taking a shot at getting a star. It's going to be really good to be at the top of this bigger alliance and be the one, maybe pulling the strings a little bit more. So thank goodness that they did this. It's interesting. It's exciting. It's a sneaky move. All of that is good. Welcome back to the challenge. Fun, good game moves. And also, I bet Frank was thinking, and we don't get to see any of it here. We get at the very end, and we will discuss the star now just being up for grabs. But I'm assuming Frank, in some conversation with Adam or anyone else that was on All Stars 4 at some point, has gathered the intel that the one time we've had this before on All Stars 4, if two star holders go against each other, the winner gets to give out that star. You don't just get two stars, you get to give it out to a friend. And so I bet Frank was thinking either Adam and Steve, if they win, they're either going to, maybe they would give it to us, maybe for giving them what they wanted when another team wouldn't. We did, and they won. So maybe, but if not, they're probably going to give it to their friends, Veronica and Katie, who is a team that me and Sam could beat in an elimination to get a star. And Frank and Sam have to be thinking, how do we get our star here? If we have to go into elimination, we want a star holder that we feel like we can beat in most things, or more things than not. And so I bet that was on his mind as well. To the jungle then. My apologies to the jungle that I have been probably wrongfully calling the arena all season long, but I noticed that they do call it the jungle, which is in line with Rivals seasons of the past as well. So how dare I not have been calling it its proper name this whole time. The game they play is really great. There was a tiny moment before I saw the barrels and kind of put together there's more to it, but just seeing the two, the ropes across, they weren't beams, they were ropes. So it was the most fleeting moment though of thinking, is Leroy going to get his all-time best game? And be able to smoke someone on the down and back, hanging, whatever they hog tied or whatever they've called it in the past. But there was a half-second fleeting thought, because then it was like, no, it's a rope, not a beam, and there's some barrels they're gonna have to do something with. But I'm glad this was 2 even teams playing this, because this could have been awful with some other combos of teams down there that might have had any shot of getting to the puzzle anytime near Steve and Adam, who crushed this whole thing. I do think the only knock I will say about the game itself, I was a little confused at the first explanation and didn't realize till partway through that, like, oh, they each are going to have to do a puzzle individually. And I kind of wish it was one. Your rivals partners, a part of the whole point of this is kind of like, can rivals work together, communicate, all of that. And so there, and it maybe it was just because I didn't want Leroy to have to do this on his own, and thought it became, Adam and Steve I was picking above him to do the puzzle or the math puzzle. But it felt like it should be one puzzle, not both of them. But anyways, still a really good game. Still really, really liked it. Just bummed that Devin and Leroy have to go home. Them going home is huge for the house. It's definitely, obviously a top finals contender, a team that was going to take a very specific matchup in game combination in an elimination to get them out of this house. And that house got it here with this kind of physical plus puzzle, kind of physical, more endurance than physical, plus puzzle, plus can you figure out how to do this physical thing kind of quickly and have the matchup with Steve and Adam, who could beat them in it. They got exactly the scenario they would need to get Devin and Leroy out. They were going to be a very tough out in an elimination on most eliminations versus most teams. And so the house has just got to be ecstatic to have gotten this. And them going home is probably fine for the season as a whole. We've had some background characters this season who we know can provide some drama and some mess and some chaos. And so we're in safe hands here as we continue to narrow down. And, we got the big moment from Devin here in this episode that we would get, but I'll always feel bad when Leroy loses. He's just so lovable. He's been a fan favorite for a long, long time. He's been one of my absolute favorites for a long, long time. He's just the best. And seeing him lose every single time is really tough. And seeing him, say, oh, for 15, goddamn, like throw his stuff is really, really tough. But thankfully, he is a massive winner in life. He's going home to Cam and the 2 beautiful children and the wonderful life and family. And he is hopefully 15 seasons in, getting some damn good paychecks for being there for the 15th season and for his 3rd retirement season. So it's always sad seeing him go home, but he's leaving to a great situation. It'll all be okay. Devin, same. He's going home to Michelle. He's winning at life too. No sweat for him. Adam and Steve, they continue an insane pace. 4 eliminations on the season. They've been in all 4. They've won fairly convincingly every single one of them. The record books are almost surely going to be getting a new entrant here very, very soon, because I don't see them stopping going in, and I don't see them stopping winning the eliminations either. Steve, like, we got to start talking about how good this team is just overall too, not just that they're winning these eliminations and dominating in a lot of respects these eliminations, but as they showed the flashback last week, Steve was one mental mistake, a true just like mental gaffe from winning All Stars 4, from beating Laurel and Cara and winning All Stars 4. And Adam was, his star being taken from him, not losing it, but just being taken from him away from going to that final and probably being right there neck and neck with Steve and Laurel and everyone else right at the front. It has crazy good endurance, and this team just might, like, I don't know who's going to beat that, what elimination they're going to lose to who. I don't know. I still would take Amber and Fessy straight up in a final over them, probably, but maybe not. So, like, at worst, they're the second team I would pick in a final right now. And I think I don't know. They're just a really, really good team. And I think we got to start considering, is this not just going to be an all-time elimination run, but is this going to be an all-time, like, could they, in theory, could they win 6 of the 7 eliminations of the season and then go and win a final and have, the greatest season in challenge history? depending how you want to judge, because there's some out there that be like, you shouldn't go into that many eliminations if you're having a great season. That's a conversation to have at the end, but it is a conversation that very much is in play that we might have to have by the end of this season. Final note, they get left at a cliffhanger that is then kind of resolved in the next week on. TJ says, you'll find out at the next daily what happens with the star. I was pissed. I was like, I keep the same rules as before. Adam and Steve should get to give a star to Veronica and Katie. That's what I want. I haven't thought through all the externalities of like which actually is better for more drama. Is it better to have it be up for grabs and you have to earn it at the next daily, which seems to be if you win the next daily, you get it. Maybe it'll be if you win the next daily and you're a star holder, then you can give it out, or second place. I don't know. We will find out, but I wish they would get to give it out to their friends. I think without having thought too deeply into it, my instant reaction was that I wished it would have stayed the way it was on All Stars 4. Awards now, and best quote. There were a few that that aren't even going to get mentioned here that were good. It was a pretty good confessional episode and quote episode overall. I will give a runner-up shout out to Melissa speaking on her partner, Nicole. She literally needs a muzzle, a lead, and a cage every single elimination. Same shit, a different day. End quote. Great. And Nicole, shout out to you for taking that taking it in stride when that was said by your partner about you in front of everyone in TJ at the vote. But the winner, of course, just the entire back and forth, or what the parts we hear of it, and that I wrote down at least of, you're a bum, you're talking to a champion, act like it, you're a joke, champion my balls, you do a couple puzzles, you got a pot belly, you can't run for shit, you're not athletic, you're ugly, and if you want that real smoke, I will break your jaw. That was mostly Dario there. So Dario gets the quote of the week. What a time. Dario and Devin just, are you the one on Are You the One? Shit talking galore there. Best moment, Sam not being able to get the bike chair where she wants the bike chair, and Frank holding back, being restrained. Every moment between those two right now is just delightful. Sam also in the great editing work to put that back and forth of, Fessy, I think, was the one that asked Frank, where's Sam? Oh, probably off gloating somewhere. And then we get Leroy walking by and like, something smells in here. Oh, it smells like winning from Sam. Just both of those fantastic moments. Turbo thinking he has cancer. The little quick story we get of Turbo when his friends told him that his astrological sign was cancer, and he supposedly had to go get checked and make sure he didn't have cancer. He thought he was dying. Loved that little quick story from him. Dario versus Devin, obviously the big moment. Adam versus Corey, of course, and Leroy going home is always a big moment of any episode for me. Again, I'm just a sucker for Leroy. He's just the best. I love him so much. But Dario and Devin is, their beef was definitely the moment of the episode. MVP, Veronica has to be mentioned. Corey has to be mentioned. Sam and Frank, Devin and Leroy, Adam. But I think we got to give it to Dario. I think Dario's performance here is really great. And, it's kind of center of the episode, and it's got to kind of be Dario or Devin. And Dario's still there at the end of the episode and got off way, way better burns and lines in their confrontation. So Dario is your episode 5 MVP. Power rankings now and how the mighty fall. We had Devin and Leroy at first place, and they are gone out of here. So that means a shakeup had to happen. The new rankings. Steve and Adam just have to be first. Like, this is so disrespectful of me if I don't just put them at first. They've won 4 eliminations in a row, and they're probably the best team there at all the different things they could be asked to do in the challenge house. So they've got a star. They win every elimination. No one can get them out of this house under any circumstances, no matter how sick they are, how good a team you put them against. It does not matter. They've got to be in first. So they go from third to first. Amber and Fessy go back up to second. I know they don't have a star, but I still look at them as, right there with Steve and Adam as the best team in the house. And especially now, if a star is up for grab for winning a daily, we know Amber and Fessy can go win them some dailies. So maybe they can get one without even having to go into elimination. That would be very good for them. Nany and Turbo are in third. Ashley and Dario, I'm moving up to fourth. I just don't see them winning a final, but like they've still got a star. And now the one person who was getting the most angry at Dario is gone, even if his biggest ally in the house is also gone with him. But like, I think just by default, there's only 3 star holders out there right now. And I got to move them up, at least for the time being. Corey and Big T stay in 5th. Frank and Sam are in 6th. Veronica and Katie 7th. Devon and Shane 8th. Melissa and Nicole 9th. I still will say that Melissa and Nicole are the only team that I truly don't think can win. Like actual 0% chance of winning the Challenge All-Stars 5. I think Devon and Shane and Veronica and Katie and Frank and Sam are low, but it exists. The ability exists. If those 3 teams with Melissa and Nicole, like if those could be the 4-star, if they could find a way to have those 4, if the We Suck Alliance truly could come to the best fruition possible of the quote unquote worst 4 teams are the 4-star holders at the end. I don't know how they make it happen. But if they could, then I could see Devon and Shane. I could see Veronica and Katie. I could see Frank and Sam. If the final was a very specific final versus a very specific set, a very small chance. It's not 0. It's at least above 0. Melissa and Nicole are the only team I truly think I think it's a 0. I just think too many weaknesses, too lack of communication, too much. Corey and Big T, Ashley and Dario, kind of in their own tier a little for me of like, I could see it. We're not horrible at anything. I don't think. Maybe Ashley and Dario. I don't know what the puzzle math situation might be with them, but again, they're where they are because they have a star right now, and making the final is important. But Nani Turbo, Amber Fessy, Steven Adam really are elevating above for me of like, if one of those 3 is in the final, and if only one of those 3 is in, whichever one it is, I think is going to win that final. If all 3 of them are there, I think it's going to be a really, really good match. Or if 2 of them are there, it's going to be a really, really good match. Anyways, let's move on to predictions. I finally had a bad week. I went 0 for 3. I was 7-9 before, and I went 0 for 3 last week. So we're 7 for 12. We're still above 500. Not bad, but I need to get back on the winning ways. And I think next week's going to be really hard to judge. We know Veronica is scheming. We know that a star is up for grabs in some way for the challenge. They say in the next week on, it's a star challenge, which, at the beginning of the season meant if you won, you got one. It would be really annoying if it was just all 4 stars are up for grabs. Top 4 teams get them. We're changing. Like, that would suck. That would just be so pointless. And I hope nothing of that sort happens. But my first prediction will be Veronica's scheming is going to be against the 3-star holders that she is not friends with, which I think will be Fessel and Amber, Nani Turbo, Ashley and Dario by the time the scheming happens. I think Fessy and Amber will win the daily challenge. That is the first prediction. And then we'll be, I don't know how I guess you can't really scheme against the ones that's safe. I don't know. Schemes against the good teams. Let's redo these predictions. Veronica will be scheming against Fessy and Amber, Nani and Turbo. Those 2 teams. I think she will go for the two of the 3 best teams. The 1/3 of those being her friends won't be against them. She wants a star. She's now leading the We Suck Alliance, I think, is what's going to go down there. I think Steven Adam will win the daily. So change what I previously said. I think Steven Adam win the daily and get to give out their star anyways, get to earn for the second time the ability to give out a star. And I think we get Melissa, Nicole, Frank, and Sam, who asked to go in an elimination to earn a star that they could then take from someone else. I don't feel good about those predictions at all. That was mostly off the top of the head, and I don't even know if they made sense, but I will type them out. That's what we'll, and if we go 0 for 3 again, we go 0 for 3 again. I think it's going to be a great episode next week. It's been a great season thus far. We're 4 out of 5 really good or great episodes, and the other one was like kind of average, which 1 out of 5 being kind of average was, we're doing really, really, really good. And Veronica scheming next week. What more can you ask for? This is going to be great. So All Stars 5, episode 5 in the books. We'll be back again next week. As always, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. YouTube, comment below. I will try to respond to as many of those as possible. DM at Challenge Historian on Instagram, or I don't know. I guess I could start checking my messages on Twitter. Is just at Jacob Hollaball. If that's a place that you'd prefer to chat anywhere you want to chat challenge, come find me. Happy to do it. Until next week. Peace.